Hey, Podcast America, welcome to episode 9 of the Enlightened Neanderthals. And today we have, I should say, brought to you by my company, Training Northwest, which is going to an all private lessons format. There is one publicly listed course left. That's our Fundamentals of Carbine in June. And I think there are still a handful of spots for Rifleman Camp in both August and September. Those are going to go, so get them while they last. We had a special guest in the kitchen tonight, Kris Cantrell of Cantrell Outdoors and Bear Country Outdoors, in here to talk about precision rifles and bear hunting and conservation in Washington State. It was a pretty fun conversation. Mike, Jordan, do you guys have anything to comment on?
We bared down. No, come on. What other euphemism can you use for bear?
Shoot.
I bared it all in front of you boys.
Yeah.
22 long rifle?
Yeah.
300 Win Mag?
No, this is conservationism. This is
Conservationism.
well, I mean, just
Enjoy the show, you guys.
yeah. 102.5.
All right, and here we go. All right, we're in the kitchen, and we have a new friend, Kris Cantrell of Cantrell Outdoors and Bear Country Outdoors, I see on the T-shirt.
Yep.
And I met Kris through Courtney Fleming, who has been on this show twice now. Mm-hmm. And she's our friend from Benchmark Barrels, the precision rifle barrel manufacturer right here in Arlington, Washington. And so we decided after I saw Kris's gunsmithing shop, which also looks like a taxidermy showcase as well as a rifle showcase, I was like, okay, we got to get this guy on our podcast. And as we get going here, Kris, do you want to take a few minutes and just kind of brag about yourself or tell us about yourself a little bit, however much of your life story you want to give, plus your business endeavors, anything that you would want to put out publicly?
How long's your podcast? Right?
As long
Anywhere
as you
from
want.
2 hours.
keep it
I got to
going,
be at
brother.
work at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I have diarrhea of the mouth.
Perfect.
Go for
Perfect.
it.
Yeah. The gun shop started 14 years ago.
And that is Cantrell Outdoors.
Cantrell Outdoors. That I moved to Stanwood,
Okay.
where it's at now. I lived in Marysville. Always liked the shooting sports. I was a kid who'd like set up a metal bowl in the corner of downstairs and shoot at it with a BB gun to see if I could hit the target around the corner type of deal.
nice.
You know.
Yeah.
Curve the bullet.
New idea.
Yeah. Wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Dude.
You boys know. And I always, that's Gunworks had just come out. And that was like the long range shooting like craze. That's how it started, right?
Okay.
So Gunworks came out with a scope, and it was a Husqvarna, had a turret. It was super cool. So that was like, for civilians like myself, that was the first like step into the long range shooting world, commercially. And I thought, man, I really want one of those. But I was poor, so yeah, I couldn't get one, which sucked.
We know this. We know this story.
You're sitting with three of them.
The pores. Yeah.
So I built one. And then I found out that you can't just build guns in your garage. If you want them, build them. You can for yourself. Just FYI, if you guys want to build guns, you could do that legally still, hopefully. Bob Ferguson's here, but I don't want to get into that guy.
Yeah.
But if you want to sell them, obviously you need a license. So I thought, I'm going to start a gun company. And one of the things that you guys will learn about me is I'm not smart enough to know that I'm not supposed to do something.
Yeah.
So
Ask permission, or what is it? Ask forgiveness later rather than permission first.
yeah, if you follow me on any of the platforms that I'm on, will become very apparent. I had a 2-post lift delivered to the house today while my wife was at work, and I didn't tell her. So I snuck in the shop real quick. So I started. Yes, I know, I'm a disaster. So I get it set up with the FBI, and they come to the house. Now, literally, we just bought the house, and we have like 3 stools in there, and it looks like we're squatting. Yeah. And the guy shows up, and I'm like, "You want a cup of coffee?" He's like, "No." I mean, it's the driest of dry. Like, I got the worst guy.
Yeah, the quintessential federal agent.
And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, yeah, everything. And he's like, well, what's your background? And I'm like, yeah, everything.
High school.
Yeah. And so
Fast cars and fast chicks.
I'm just like, yeah, let's do. He's like, do you want to build like machine guns? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I do.
awesome. Yeah.
That's a great idea, brother. Thanks for coming.
So I checked every single box, and I got every license you can get in the United States for any type of manufacturing, ammunition, rifles, SBRs, silencers. My little shop in Stanwood has it.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to do any of this, by the way. Like I never even turned on. I didn't have any equipment, you know. Yeah. And so my grandfather passed away, and he left me $5,000, which was at that time was like the world, right? Because I'd never got any money in my life, and I put it in the stock market. My brother-in-law is my financial advisor. He's kind of a can I swear?
Oh fuck yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
Piece of shit. And he lost me $1,000, and I'm like, so I pull it out of the stock market, and I go up to Grizzly Manufacturing in Bellingham. The nicest freaking people on the planet, by the way.
Okay.
They have like a big, if you've never been there, if you like woodworking or metalworking or anything, it's like it's an incredible place. So their main showroom, you go up there and you can buy any tool, and they manufacture stuff, right? So they have a gunsmithing lathe. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I go in there and I'm like, yeah, I need a gunsmithing lathe, and they're like, okay, what kind of tooling do you want with it? And I'm like,
yep,
all of it.
yeah, I don't know, you know? And so like literally they're like walking me through it, and I call up all my boys and I say, hey, I'm headed home. I have it in the back of my truck. I'm jacked up, right? It comes in 2 big pieces, very heavy. And I get there and we're all standing there like
No power.
Yeah, just like no power.
and these 3-phase.
And we're all cracking Coors Lights, and I'm like, yeah, like standing around like, yeah, man, it's so cool. And then we get it out and we set it up. And they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't even know how to turn it on. Like, not a clue. And then I was like, shit, I got to run power, because there wasn't. And so luckily I grew up on the job site. I was the viewers at home, you can't see, but I'm a plus size fella. I was this big when I was like 5. Like I was a huge kid. My dad's run a construction company his whole life. So I grew up on the job site with him. And so it started out with like masonry. That was his main thing. But then he got his GC, and the next thing you know, like we're doing plumbing and electrical and everything else, right? So I'm like, okay, you know, I got to run some wire and tap into the panel, and wire costs $1 million. And I finally get over there and I get everything turned on. And then it was literally like YouTube University, and in the house and out to the shop, and in the house and out to the shop. And I had a binder, and I would take notes. Yeah. Like, oh, don't do that. You know, speeds and feeds. Okay, I can figure that out. And then that's how it started.
No shit.
And now I build, you know, Snohomish County SWAT sniper rifles, Skagit County SWAT sniper rifles, a bunch of duty guns, which aren't really, I mean, you're more putting pieces together, but I don't know how many custom long range rifles we built. A bunch, like a lot.
Do you have a rough idea how many per year?
We'll probably do 100 this year.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
It'll be a busy year this year.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And is that just you hands-on doing it, or you?
So I have one gunsmith that there's a great gunsmith, Cliff. That's what I call him. Have you met him yet?
I haven't.
He's about 75 times bigger than me. He has to duck. I'm not kidding. He has to duck through doorways.
He barely fits on the hippo couch.
He is so yes. He is a gigantic man, and unfortunately, he got a full-time job at the fire department, so he only works part-time at the shop now. But when he came on, he was just like me. Like he wasn't classically trained, right?
Yeah.
And so he took a course at Everett Community College, like a machining course. And then he came in, and I just like, hey, dude, this is how I do it. I don't know if it's the right way or not, but it works really well. Yeah. And so that's what we did. And he was one of those guys, like, I'm pretty good with figuring stuff out. You know, I'm not that smart of a guy, but I'm like mechanically inclined, I guess. So I could just figure stuff out. So we started, you know, like we could fix any gun you brought in usually. If we couldn't, we could make a part. And he came in and like that. Like you could just figure stuff out. And I'm like, this is great. So then I got backup, and then I got a paperwork lady who's literally like the shop wouldn't run without her. She's there right now.
That's what I need, is a paperwork person to take all the things that I stress about, like as tax time is approaching, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't even know.
That's what she's doing right now. Like literally, it's tax time. We call it marriage boot camp in my house every year.
Yeah.
Because I have 3 businesses worth of crap, right?
Oh, what's the third then?
So I have my real estate business,
Okay.
and then Cantrell Outdoors, and then Bear Country Outdoors, and luckily, my business partners is Bear Country. Like I just have to get them most of my stuff, and Cantrell Outdoors is obviously all on me. And then my real estate side of things, I have a bunch of rental properties and a bunch of other stuff that we have to deal with. My wife's, she doesn't know what I do during the year. Like she doesn't know how much money I make and how much money I spend, and she's very lenient with me. And then it comes to marriage boot camp time, and she goes, "Oh, you
Holy shit.
you spent this on what's this number?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
That sweetheart is
Yeah.
100% authentic hippopotamus.
tax write off, tax write off." Yeah, so it's yeah. And if you guys don't know about the hippopotamus, what they're referring to is I had a great trip with my father to South Africa. I was just telling the fellas here that he great human being, like the best dad. You don't realize how hard it is to be a dad until you become a dad.
Amen.
Fucking
Of course, Nathan left the room
Yeah.
right before you said that. God damn it.
So I do everything I can to take my dad anywhere I can and do the most I can for him now, because he's like, I see other dads, and there's a lot of dads who aren't great dads, He's a freaking, he's like the best. So I take him everywhere as much as I can do with him. I'm trying to get him retired. As soon as he retires, you'll probably see him in the gun shop.
Oh, cool.
He'll be like
The greeter.
head of personnel.
The mascot. Team mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
he's a really good dude. But so like the Africa trip, we filmed all that. So that'll be coming out for Bear Country. That'll be a film.
Oh, cool.
We had a film last year that came out, Bear Hunter's Life. It was super fun. We did.
Nathan and I watched it last night.
Yeah,
Really
that was a
enjoyed
good
it.
YouTube one.
Very good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
It was it's a shit ton of work to make a movie.
Oh, I could imagine.
It's so much money and effort and time.
Say the name again for people listening. It's
A Bear Hunter's Life, and it's Bear Country Outdoors
on YouTube.
on YouTube.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, our podcast is called Barely a Podcast.
Yep.
yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ha
Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park.
Okay. So,
You're known in this community. Well, I'll put that out there.
all right. Back to the guns.
Back to the guns.
When you're starting a precision build, are you working with like a factory action? Like I'm learning all this stuff. I didn't realize up until very recently when I met Courtney and started like talking to her and learning all this stuff, that like a long action is a long action and it's not caliber specific, and a short action is a short action. Do you start with a factory action, or are you literally machining everything yourself out of like blocks of steel or?
No, because it's like reinventing the wheel, or like when you build a business. Like, say if I'm going to start a gym.
Uh-oh. Why would you do that?
There's people have already made the wheel, right? And certain people are better at it than others. And so, like, I have a couple different manufacturers that I'll use. Like, for instance, American Rifle Co. out of Mukilteo. Ted and John are fantastic guys. They make a product that's very unique in the rifle world. They have a lot of patents. They have stuff on their actions that aren't. It's not just the 700 footprint, right?
Okay.
And so, like, say for instance, let's walk through the process. You come in my shop. You're like, hey, I saw you on YouTube and you shoot elk at 1,000 yards all the time.
I want to be a sniper.
Yeah, and I'm like, easy, no problem. I can build you a gun, and I can give you, like, I can walk you through, like, in person, right? I don't have a mile range. I wish I did, but I could walk you through, like, hey, like, I've killed, I don't know how many elk at 1,000 yards. Elk are big targets. Shooting 1,000 yards and killing elk is super easy if you have the correct tool.
Hear that, boys?
Yep.
It's
Need
not
to go to
it's-
Montana and shoot an elk.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's not hard, and people think like, wow, you must be a good shot. I'm like, I'm a freaking terrible shot. Like, I kill a lot of stuff because I have a tool that is 1,000 times better than my skill set, and I kind of know some math,
Yeah.
And I've just followed the steps that it's easy. It's like, oh, this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and you follow it, and then an animal falls down. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, like you're saying, it's the basics. Like you practice the basics.
Fundamentals.
Yeah. Push. Pull. Like it's pretty simple. So we sit down. You go, hey, I want to.
Kill an elk at 1,000 yards.
You want to kill an elk at 1,000 yards? It's fantastic. Where are you going? You say Montana. I said, okay, good. It's a good place to do it. And I say, what do you have a caliber in mind? And then you list off a bunch of ridiculous things you've heard on YouTube. And I say, that's nice.
Yeah, it's 270.
Oh, fantastic. That's such a good long range cartridge.
Listen, don't pump him up.
So that's the hardest talk is the caliber talk because some people are very much set and they don't listen. And I'm like, I've done this a couple times. Like, this is what I recommend. And so, like, let's say,
what is your recommendation for an elk at 1,000 yards?
The smallest caliber I'd go would be like a 7 mag. Like, I shoot a 28 Nosler. I shoot I'm a 30 cal guy. I would rather shoot a 30 cal at that distance. And if you can go bigger, I would go bigger. Like, I mean, I've killed more things with a 300 Ultra Mag than anything else.
Okay.
So I like a high horsepower 30 cal cartridge. I like a big heavy bullet. I like high ballistic coefficient. I want something that's going to kick the shit out of the wind where I don't have to do that extra math, So when you have a 700, G1 BC, you don't have to worry about it, right? As much, right? So if I shoot a 300 Ultra Mag that's going 31, 3,200 feet a second and it's got a 210, 215, 230 grain bullet, it takes a lot of the math out of the equation. You don't have to be as good, right?
Sure.
So if you get a 300 Ultra Mag, or like a lot of guys are shooting like PRCs, it's a little less horsepower, right?
I just bought a 7 PRC.
So basically like a 7 mag, right? So the 300 PRC is a 300 Win Mag. It's just sexier and better marketing.
Okay.
A 7 PRC is a 7 Rem Mag.
Okay.
Sexier, better marketing. It's a beltless cartridge. It does have some better angles and this and that. It's basically the same thing, right?
Okay.
There's not a huge difference between those two. So you can load. The difference is they're taking those barrels and they're going, oh shit, let's increase the twist rate so we can shoot a heavier bullet, and then it makes it seems easier because you're hitting you have more shots on target because you're not shooting a 7 mag and they were shooting 140 grain bullets, and now I'm shooting 195 burgers and they're just fucking pills, dude. Just bing, 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 bing every time. So it makes it easier for the shooter.
Okay.
So I would say, okay, let's say 7 PRC, fantastic. What's your goal? Budget concern, weight concern. Most guys say, I want the lightest thing.
So you start with weight till you hear the price, and you go, you know what? My primary concern is actually budget. Now that you tell me what the lightweight rifle costs,
100%, and it's totally fine with me too, because a lot of times I'll tell guys like, hey, buy a Tika.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care what There's no money in guns, by the way. Like, there's not. Like, if you want to start a gun, it's like owning a gym. Yeah. There's not that much money. You just get to hang out with cool guys and get invited to your podcast. Right? That's why I do it. That's it. And it's
all the free Modelo's you can drink.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan. I like your opener there, by the way.
Those are my pocket pliers that Jordan gave me.
I'm going to put that. I'm making a mental note to get you a real opener for the next podcast.
I have many real openers. I happen to like the fact that of all the EDC shit that people go hog wild about EDC.
Yeah.
The one thing that is in my pocket all the time that I always use are these little mini Knipex. These get used daily for something, whether it's a real tool task or a bottle opener.
That looks like a good tool.
They're amazing.
Oh. Yeah. My EDCs right here. I got some readers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys are too here, but I have a flashlight and readers in my pocket at all times.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Pocket pliers and a flashlight and a pocket knife. That's about how I roll.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
You're in good
weight
company.
is a big concern. I'm a big Benchmark barrels guy, right?
Right. Yep.
Fantastic company. The people are even better.
I love them.
I think stepping back to why we were talking about Bear Country Outdoors earlier and like sponsors and stuff. I'm old and I don't I don't care about getting free shit. I care about hanging out with cool guys.
Yes.
So when you're like, hey, come to my party, I'm like, yeah, you're cool. I met you. You're a good dude.
I will say that in the 2.5 or 3 years since I opened Training Northwest, I've been exposed to some of the big names in the industry who disappointed the shit out of me.
Right.
And I've been exposed to some of the smaller names in the industry who I absolutely fucking love. And I had the Benchmark Barrels crew on my range 2 days ago for their company. It was just like a company fun day. They paid for all their employees to come out for a pistol class. It was one of the best groups I've ever had. It was so much fun.
They're just good people.
Yes.
And to so obviously being in the gun world, guys might say, like, you want lightweight. Everyone wants like, okay, that's a carbon fiber barrel, no problem. What do you recommend? And I've built a bunch with Proof barrels. Proof was like the first one that came out with carbon fiber, and then Ron's like, he finally gave up and was like, all right, we'll develop a carbon fiber barrel of our own, which is just as good in my opinion. Yep. I build lots of guns with them. They're super accurate. I took my family to Montana on a trip, and I called Proof, and I'm like, hey, and I bought a lot of Proof barrels, like a lot of Proof barrels, you know. And I talked with, you know, the guy there, and I was just like, hey, I'd like to bring my family by and take a walk through the factory and take a look. And he's just like, no. We're like, we're busy. We don't give a shit about you. And I'm like, okay, that's good to know, you know, because they're like a big deal. And he kind of shit on me a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a big deal, but at the same time, like, common courtesy, it's like 5 minutes. Let me take a walk through and shake my hand and give me a cup of coffee and call it a day, right? Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to spend $100,000 with your company, I think we should do that, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to Benchmark and you walk in, and they always stop. They always take time out of their day and be like, hey, Kris, like, how's it going? What can we get you? What can we do for you? You know, when Courtney was one of the first ones I met there, and super nice, and you wouldn't know how accomplished she is. Mm-hmm. She's very
humble.
Very humble. Mm-hmm. She's, you know, in like magazine articles and all this shit. And like, I'm learning about later. I'm like,
TV shows.
I'm like, wow, you're kind of a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
I really like the company, and it's all the companies that Bear Country has sponsored with is like, when I sat down, again, my business partners are younger. They're just eager to like build the business. And I made a list, and I'm like, these are the people I want to be in business with. So this is what we're going to go after. And they're just like, okay, sounds good. And literally I've every single person we've gone after, and we've gotten those after meeting them and been like, these people are great. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. And they have helped me a lot with, I bought in fact, I'm going to say the name, a Bergara rifle that I'm really disappointed with, because I bought their sort of like flagship hunting rifle, and it was advertised as a 1 MOA guarantee, and it shoots about 5 MOA since I've had it. And so I took it, they've now taken it twice, run it through their own gunsmith, and like at no charge to me, just helping me out because I'm a friend. Mm-hmm. And at this point now, I'm probably just going to buy one of their barrels because I'm done fucking around with this. I could have mailed it all the way back to the East Coast so that they could have it checked out, and then probably mail it back to me 6 months later to tell me that everything seems okay. But at this point, it's like, because the Benchmark guys have been so good and such good friends over the last, I don't know, it's really only been a couple of months. It's like, fuck it, I'm just going to buy one of their barrels and have it put on my gun, because at this point, I'd rather have their equipment on, just so that
it
when we're out,
something now.
Exactly. Now it means something. And when I'm out talking to customers, or if I go to a few competitions with Bill and Courtney and just to hang out and like kind of have some fun, if people ask, I can say, oh, that's a Benchmark barrel.
Right. And they stand behind their product, which is a big thing too. Cause one of the reasons, like I said, I'm a small shop. One of the reasons I got the contract with SWAT was because they used FN, and they had all these issues, and you got to send it back, and it's this big multi-month thing, and they don't want to like, oh no, it's fine or whatever. And I had some issues with some guns, and I could go there and I could like talk to Bill or whoever's in, and I'd be like, hey, dude, like, I built this gun. I built 4 in a row. They were all perfect. This one was shit. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, man. Like, I'm not smart enough to figure this out. Will you help me? Yeah, absolutely. And we worked through it. And it was like, you can't do that anywhere else. And the SWAT team saw that too. Like, cause I try and, like I see good companies. I'm like, I'll stand behind, I'll eat so many shit sandwiches for you guys. I have no problem. Like 100%. Like if I messed up, I don't care how much it costs. That's the nice thing about being, having the other company, real estate, to back me up financially, right? Mm-hmm. Because I can just be like, oh, I'll just rebuild it. I'll put a new barrel on, or I'll change stuff, or I'll build you a whole new gun. I don't give a shit. It's going to be right. And I will make it right. Yeah. And that's why I got that. But I have the backup of being able to go to Benchmark and be like, hey, dude.
Yeah. Of your rifle orders, is it majority police departments, or is it majority just independent, like hunters and sport shooters?
It was going back and forth there for a while, because they would put in like, not a big order per se, but like now it's definitely shifted back on the hunter.
Long range shooting has become a thing in the hunting.
It's super
world,
popular.
I've noticed, yeah.
And I've noticed that guys are buying, like, not to throw any companies under the bus, but like they would come in and be like, Kris, how much is I want a sweet carbon fiber gun. And I would say, well, it's like a gun starts at $5,000 for a bare gun, for a carbon fiber gun. If you want a carbon fiber stock and a carbon fiber barrel, so ballpark carbon fiber stock's $1,000. That's not a chassis. That's just the stock. If you want a chassis, it's $1,500. A carbon fiber blank's $1,000. And action's probably $1,500. Bottom metal's $300. A trigger's $300. So all of a sudden they go, oh, why does this cost so much? And I'm like, well, there's $4,000. Yeah. $4,500, and we're just racking up. And I have to take all these parts of machine shit and make it into a rifle that's going to shoot.
Custom fitted a little bit.
Yeah. So like I'm getting the blanks, and say for instance you were asking about how do you figure this out? So let's say you want a new gun.
Yeah, 22 LR.
Okay.
Not 270?
Dude,
22.
I'm a 22 guy.
You're in good company, bro.
I have like a dozen.
Kris just got the happiest face.
Yeah,
man.
Like I want the big boys, and I want the 22s.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, those 300 PRCs that's kind of.
Yeah, so you say, all right, so we order you a long action with a Magnum bolt face, because the bolt face changes on the bolt, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if they don't have interchangeable bolt heads, you got to make sure that you order it right the first time. We get that. Then we say, how far do you want to shoot? And you tell me you want to shoot 1,000 yards. I'd say, okay, 300 PRC. I'm going to order you a carbon fiber barrel from Benchmark, and I'm going to get it. Say we're going to shoot between a 24 and a 26-inch finish length, and you have to pick the finish length on a carbon fiber barrel, because it's not like a steel barrel. You just can't cut it down into the carbon.
Yeah.
So it's a specific finish length. And then we're going to thread it, because we're probably going to put a brake or a can on it, right? So we got to make sure that there's extra room there. So I get this, and I say, you're probably going to want to shoot definitely above a 200-grain bullet, for sure, 100%. And we're going to need a 1 1/8 twist for that, right? We want a fast twist rate to stabilize that big, heavy, high BC bullet. You can't shoot a 1 in 10, or otherwise it's going to shoot like crap. It won't stabilize the bullet. So we order you a blank, and the blank is just a tube, carbon fiber tube. There's nothing machined anywhere, right? There's rifling in it. That's it. So maybe we get a 5-hour, 4-hour barrel, whatever rifling. It doesn't matter that much now, because Benchmark has a cut machine that makes like really, really nice rifling. Okay. And then past that, like the parts and components don't matter that much. Like it's personal preference. Like if you want a super light carbon fiber stock, or if you want a carbon fiber chassis, or something of that nature, right? Like MDT has a chassis right now. It's called the 126, and it's a folding carbon fiber chassis.
Ooh,
dude!
And is that like literally 126 grams, or?
So it is the non-folding version, which adds like 2 ounces. I think is 26 ounces.
Jeez.
And it's incredible.
Dang.
It's so nice. So like say it's 28 ounces, right? Yeah. So you're sub 2 pounds on like a legit chassis with a built-in Arca rail and a folding buttstock and adjustable cheek piece. Like this thing is
all right.
Super nice, right? It is. You guys need to come to the shop. I'll show you some. So that's what I built my 300 PRC on.
Okay.
It's holy crap. I was never a chassis guy ever.
Well,
and now
I feel like all the chassis now are like just getting to be sick.
Dude, these are so nice. They're so freaking nice.
And that's a $1,500 chassis.
It's $1,500. Okay. Yeah. It's got a magnesium alloy like center, and the buttstock and the fore end are all carbon fiber. And like I said, they molded in an Arca rail in the front. Dude, it's like QD cups, regular sling mounts, the whole. I mean, it's
got all of it.
Yeah, and the adjustable cheek piece which is super important because guys buy these stocks and their cheek weld is improper, and they got this big, huge, high scope mount, or it's too low or something. And you wonder why you can't shoot like shit, or they come back with idiot marks all over their face. Well, it's
getting down in there.
Yeah, it's cheek weld. It's 110% cheek weld, and you have to have that adjustability. Guys don't understand that. Like, I mean, I've had so many guys come back to the shop, and they just, it's form, number one, right? But you have to have that same correct cheek weld every single time, or you're just going to shoot like shit. Doesn't matter how good your gun is, right? So
that could be my issue because I don't have a adjustable cheek piece on that Bergara rifle.
Yeah, so I tell guys, like,
get a new barrel.
Fuck it. Yeah, fuck it.
So a quick pro tip, a good way to check that is most guys will, like, obviously you guys have shot a lot, right? So you close your eyes, you get your gun, you shoulder your rifle, and you put your cheek on there with your eyes closed, and you open up, and if you can see perfectly through your scope, then you have the correct cheek weld.
Correct.
Most likely it's not.
Okay.
It's just not different. I mean, like, my face is 87% fatter than your face, right? Okay. We're not going to have the same cheek weld,
no,
right? It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So that's got to be correct. Those chassis with the adjustability is really nice, but at the same time, you have to have the lowest scope mount you can get, right? Because you want that as close to the bore axis as you can. Mm-hmm. So, like, most guys, if you're going to run a big scope, like, I really like the VX6 HD. They have a Gen 2 now. Have you seen those?
No.
The Leupolds?
I'm a Vortex dealer, so I only know their equipment. And I know I look at other manufacturers, and my thing here is because when Training Northwest was new, Vortex believed in me.
Yeah.
So now I'm loyal.
Okay.
Which that's important to me. When I was nothing, and I'm still nothing, somebody said, you know what, we got you, bro. You don't have to be a big box store chain or whatever. We will support your dream. So I'm firmly in their corner for that reason.
Well, whoever your guy is, you let him know I got the opposite of that, and the guy was a total dick face.
Oh, really?
Total dick face. 100%
at Vortex.
Hey,
yes. Shit. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you hear me talk shit about Vortex, which I do every day.
Okay.
Every single day.
Yeah.
I have cost them probably millions
of dollars. I'm flying out there in April. I'll tell him.
You tell him, like Kris Cantrell, he's cost you millions of dollars.
Okay.
Because of your one guy who's a rep here who's like basically told me to go fucking kick rocks.
Really?
Yeah, total dick.
All right.
Not as bad as the Night Force guys, but
okay.
Yeah. Night Force. Yeah.
I converted.
We'll cross that off the sponsorship list.
We almost had them.
We all.
So close.
SWAT teams, the Snohomish County SWAT team and the Skagit County SWAT team.
Yeah.
They all use Night Force. They don't use Night Force anymore. I converted all of them to Loophole.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Lots and lots of money in
Pays
scopes.
to be nice to people.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
That's rule number one of sales. It's hard to be a salesman if you're a dickhead.
Yeah. Like, just be nice.
All right.
Just don't be a butthole.
Hear that, Nathan?
Yeah. So I'm a Leupold guy. So they have a 52 millimeter bell on the VX6, so you can mount it a little bit lower. I do have some Mark 5s that are 56 mil bells, but they all kind of have the same thing: lighted reticles, different lock turrets and stuff. The new Gen 2 has a little, like on the front of your turret, it has a little deal. You just push in and you can just pull your turret off.
Oh,
it's really cool. So toolless.
Yeah.
Everything is going toolless now.
Nice. Okay. That drives me nuts. So, okay, soapbox or gripe time here.
Here we go.
Is when I am out at the range, dicking around, getting my scope zeroed and setting all the zero stops and whatnot. For whatever reason, this is my one gripe with Vortex. Some of their screws are Torx head, and some of them are hex head.
Oh, dude.
And it's like, can we just go one?
Yeah.
Let's just pick one
Yeah.
and stick with it, fellas. And this is something that goes all the way back to construction sites for me, because at one point I realized when I was an apprentice, I looked down at my bags and I had like I had 5/16 driver, 3/8 driver, 7/16 driver, 7/16 short, 7/16 deep, 9/16 shallow, 9/16 deep, Phillips, flat, square, Torx, and it was like, what if we just picked fucking one? Or maybe even two? Do we need all of these to drive screws? And, yeah.
I feel you. I'm 100%. It's
Toolless.
Toolless.
It's the way to go.
Even better than just picking one. Let's go toolless.
So I think in like 2 weeks, I think we're going to go out to American Rifle Co. in Mukilteo. And so John is one of the owners. And when they came out with the coup de grace, that's their newest action.
Okay.
We go in there.
And this is the one you said you help.
Right. So like they're coming out with the coup de grace, and I had so Ted is the other owner. Ted he's a carbon copy of Weird Al Yankovic. I'm not Googling. He looks same hair, same dude. He's almost too smart. You can tell when you talk to him. Yeah. He's instantly irritated with how dumb I am because I just can't keep up. Right? Yeah. My processing speed isn't there. He's a very nice guy, but he's legit brilliant, right? So, and that's why when you look at their product, you're like, wow, this is not the same. Okay. So we had a long talk, and hey, we got to go lighter, and we got to do this. And he took some of my ideas, which felt good for me, right? So they cut it down.
Should make it black.
Yeah. And it is. It's good. Yeah. It's a really good action, but so Ted is off doing high capacity things, and John's like, oh, have you seen how it breaks down? And I'm like, no, show me. And it's toolless. The whole bolt breaks down toolless, right? Oh, cool. Whoa. And he broke it apart. Like, you ever seen like those little kids do them Rubik's cubes, and they do it in like 3 seconds, and you're like, ridiculous. What is that, right? That's how it was. He's just like, and then it's laying in parts on the table, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then he put it back together, which was even more impressive, right? And I really liked it. You know, things happen in the field. You know, ejectors break or something happens, and so you can have a couple extra parts and pieces. Like if you go on a trip to,
South Africa, right? Absolutely.
Get a couch.
Oh,
yeah, get a couch.
You're gonna need extra parts.
You're gonna need parts. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and I like that we brought it full circle back to American Rifle Company.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what you said. That's where you like to start with the action, maybe a couple of others.
That's where you need to start.
And we're back to building this gun.
Back to building guns. So we pick the action. We pick the size, short action, long action. We pick the bolt face. We pick the barrel length, right? We pick the twist rate. And again, all this is like, it's like I'm interviewing you for a job. I'm asking you all these questions, and you're telling me this is what I want to do. And I say, okay, this is what you need. Hopefully you listen. Sometimes people don't. I don't care. I'll build you whatever you want, right? 22 long rifle. I'm your guy. Perfect. And
does he know about our 1022 build off?
I don't think so.
Not yet.
Oh, we got 22. You guys want to see my 22s?
Yeah. Kidding me? Yeah,
pull it out.
Yeah. And I used to probably only thread like half of the barrels that we did. Like guys would just get
now it's probably all of them. Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Every single one. I can't remember the last time where I've just cut a target crown on it.
Really?
Yeah. Like, because I used to be anti-brake, huge anti-brake. I was like, why would you need a brake? You know, it's too much noise and everything. And now like once you actually do it and learn the amount of speed that you can get out of a brake for a follow-up shot, there's just no comparison.
Just not even the enjoyability, because, for example, my 308 has no brake on it. It fucking sucks to shoot that thing in the prone after about 6 rounds, whereas my new 7 PRC does have a brake on it. I'm completely unaware of any recoil into my shoulder.
Well, especially if you're a backpack hunter and everything's lightweight and you want something heavy to stop things. Good luck taking that to the range and getting through a box of ammo.
Yeah.
You're a broken man at that point.
Yeah. That's a fact too.
Yeah.
So be owning the gun shop, right? And customers bring their guns in. I'll go to the range and I'll shoot 15 or 20 guns in a day. Like I'll sit at the range for 8 hours and I'll shoot all day because customers say, hey, you know, like they want work done or they want a gun proofed or they want load development or something like that. And I'll shoot some of these old guns, old lighter guns too, like an old I got old Husqvarna, 7 mag, and I'll sit there. And
Husqvarna made the chainsaw company and dirt bike company made
and axe company.
It's good. They make great rifles, by the way.
Really?
Holy shit, though, man! Like your shoulder at the end of the day is just purple. Yeah, it's brutal. So I honestly run. I am the biggest believer in silencers now. If you can run a can, I will run a can on everything. My 22s have cans on.
Oh, yeah. So does mine.
Yeah.
Ask those chickens.
That's those roosters.
Yeah.
They're not talking anymore. That was a fun day.
Yeah, so in that, and that eats up recoil as well, right? So like these cans are getting better and better and better at recoil management, and you don't have that massive blast. So like, the thing is, like, when we travel and we go anywhere outside the United States, everyone has a can on their gun.
Yeah, isn't that the weirdest fucking thing?
Yeah, and it's rude as shit. If you go there with a muzzle brake, they're like, fuck this guy.
Oh, it sucks. That's one thing that when I do like my carbine courses or the rifleman camp, I kind of get on people who show up with a muzzle brake on their AR because it sucks for everybody else on the firing line when you show up with that competition brake. And I get that it makes it shoot flat and whatnot. It's not tactical at all because it's breathing like a dragon's breath flame of fire out the front of it.
Yeah.
And everybody on your right and left absolutely hates you.
Yeah. Get a can.
Yeah. Get a can, or for your AR, get a fucking bird cage.
Dude, come to my shop. I'll sell you a can.
Really?
Elaine works Mondays and Thursdays.
Perfect.
See ya.
Having a
We got to go, guys. Wrap it up.
But doesn't having a suppressor on an AR change a little bit of gas?
I don't like them on ARs because one, it beats up your parts. It's a gas, like it's a direct gas impingement system. So it's directing more. And yes, you can tune it and cut down the gas block or aperture on the gas block to a smaller size. But you're also going to put a lot of gas in your own face that you're then breathing. So you're breathing all that like vaporized carbon and copper and whatnot that I don't want to. So I don't want the wear and tear on my parts. I don't want to breathe all the shit. I can reduce my downrange signature with a 3-prong almost as well as the can does. And then lastly, what we found in Afghanistan is that if you're shooting, like if you're in a firefight and you're shooting a lot with a can on, your gun's going to get really fucking hot fast.
So they're getting better with the blow through and the technology they're doing, right?
Are they? I have no idea.
You would know better than us.
So all the SBRs that I build for the sheriff's department now, so I run 10.5-inch guns. I put an Arrow precision adjustable gas block on, and I run a Radian Raptor charging handle that's made for.
That helps vent it sideways. Is that correct?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So you don't, because I shoot a fair amount, right? I mean, just like you guys, and you got on the range, and as soon as I pull the trigger, I know exactly how much gas is in that gun because I can feel it on my face, right? And it definitely creates more blowback, right? And so when you get done at a long day at the range and the right side of your face is black as shit, you're going to be like, hey, iPro's a real thing when you have a can on your gas tank. So they are getting much better. There's a couple companies that are coming out with more systems in like the charging handle arena, in the actually even the back of the receivers, like different gaskets and shit. So I'm excited about that.
It'd be nice to be able to get that here.
Yeah, I think that
If only we could buy that.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a lot of ARs and I have a lot of cans, and I run cans on all of them. So I've gotten very good at figuring out how to run these things without all that shit happening, because I do shoot a lot. So it's like you're saying, if you can run a gun, if you're going to run a gun a lot, like I've never been a firefight in Afghanistan, so like I don't really have anything to stand on here to talk about, but I can tell you that a lot of my guns, especially my precision ARs, have cans on them, and they run very, very well. And I could shoot, I mean, there's no mag dumps, they're precision guns. But at the same time, like if you came into my house, I'm going to shoot you with a 10.5-inch gun. If you're wondering what I'm going to turn you into a sprinkler with, and that thing runs, it runs fast and it runs hot. I have it's a heavier duty can on it, right? But I can run it really, really fast, and I could put 60 rounds through it and be totally fine. Now, if I need more than 60 rounds, I'm probably in trouble. But
then you got to go talk to Vortex because something's wrong with that Leopold.
Yeah, I got a red dot on mine.
But running a silencer on a bolt action, You don't run into any change in ballistics or everything just it doesn't affect the gun.
I didn't believe it when I first started it because I thought it would build more pressure.
Yeah.
Right. And I read all the data and you watch all the things and all the stuff. So I'm a big Brian Litz guy. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading his books and I'm like, okay, applied ballistics. Here we go. And you're reading all this stuff. Okay, the math says this. The longer your barrel, the faster your bullet's going to go. You cut your barrel down, you're losing feet per second, right? So I think that when you add a can, it's going to add, point of impact shift. Yes. Speed, no. It's really weird. Yeah. It's super weird. And I have gone to the range and I've sat down with the chrono. I used to run a lab radar. Now I run little Garmin Zeros, and it is negligible.
No shit.
It's 100% negligible. Especially when you're shooting factory ammo that a lot of these companies are running 50 and 60% or 50 and 60 feet per second difference in their factory ammo. And you're it doesn't matter what you run into your gun. This ammo sucks. So
is there a brand of suppressor you prefer?
I'm running the Nosler cans right now, which really, if it was made by Hornady, it'd be the most popular can on the entire planet because Hornady has the best marketing department in the world. Nosler didn't push these at all.
They made their bullets white.
Oh, really?
So you can see, yeah, it's true. They have
Hornady bullets are white now?
Some. No,
okay.
Just, it's one of those things.
Okay.
So the Nosler cans are incredibly lightweight.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. Is
incredibly lightweight.
All right.
Half a pound. They're like the big long one's like 9.6 ounces. The short one's 7 point something, right? So they have a K can that's shorter. So I ran the K can on my 300 PRC, went over to Africa, shot the country up. Mm-hmm. Never once wore ear pro. Never rang my ear a single time.
Shit.
Never got a complaint from it. I mean, the can's that long.
Yeah.
Now, originally, I didn't like the way it looked because it has a large blast chamber. It looks like an old grenade, right? The big Russian style, whatever those things are, right? Yeah. It's got a kind of bulbous end on it. Yeah. And I was like, I don't like the way those look. I shot one.
Sold.
They are so light and they are so freaking quiet. And back to the problem of putting a can on and getting that point of impact shift, right? Because you're changing your barrel harmonics. People don't understand, harmonics are a huge deal. That's why I'm a huge Benchmark fan, because their metal is so consistent in their barrels that Ted, again, back to American Rifle Co., we had a nerd session about barrel harmonics and different frequencies, and imagine I'm drawing a graph, and he's like, a high harmonic goes up and down like this, right? Mm-hmm. Well, depending on where you're at in your barrel whip, if you have high harmonics, right, and your frequency is high, meaning they're closer together, that's where you're going to get a bigger spread, right? Okay. Because in that time frame, it could be down here, it could be up here, right?
Frequency.
Yeah, so a lower frequency. So on some of these guns, they'll actually shoot better when you put a can on them because your frequency is lower.
Slows the barrel harmonic down.
Yeah.
Oh. So that's what it is. I need a can on my rifle. That'll clear it all up.
It could help. Honestly, I guarantee you it'd shoot better with custom ammunition, but custom ammunition is very expensive and time consuming as well. So unless you want to do what I did and invest $50,000 into reloading into your company to make $5, probably wouldn't recommend that.
Canada's.
And that's something else. I've got a buddy that's very into hunting, and he'll make his own rounds, but then he will also buy specifically, custom made for his rifle,
right?
Because he'll spend $11,000 on a rifle.
That's an interesting marketing thing too, because his rifle, rangefinder, and ammunition all come from one company, and they're all calibrated together, which for someone who's a busy, professional / dad / et cetera, to have it all just here it all is as a system, there's a lot of value in that. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of purists who talk shit on it, but at the same time, again, from a consumer standpoint and someone who's busy and has a lot of responsibilities, yes, please.
Yeah. And that's just my question is, where do you see the difference between people that will get a custom rifle from you and maybe they will shoot, I mean, we'll call them garbage, but no one's garbage.
Right.
But we're calling them garbage.
Yeah.
That they'll shoot, box ammo compared to having ammo tailored towards what their rifle build is. What is the biggest difference you would see for, I mean, maybe just consistency, or is it weapon function?
So I'll walk you through it. So originally when I started all this, the idea was I copied Gunworks, right? Aaron, Davidson, if you're listening, sorry. You guys are doing great. So, so the idea was I wanted to tailor it to like rich guys, busy rich guys. So you would come in, I'd say, you're Montana, 300 PRC, elk hunting, November, you're going, wherever you're going in Montana, 7,500 feet elevation, temperature is going to be 32 degrees. Come back in 4 months, I'll have your gun, I'll have your ammunition, I'll have your dope sheet, I'll have your turrets ready. Everything's ready to go. It'll be dialed in.
Fuck yeah.
For Montana, you go there, you see an elk at 800 yards, your dope's ready, and you go, oh, Kris, it says it's this many minutes, because I'm not a Mills guy. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and he pulls the trigger and the elk falls over. And so that's what I was selling. And I do that a lot for a lot of customers. So I offer that load development service. So you could come in and you could literally just pick it up with your ammo and your dope sheet and your gun, and it's dialed in, and you could literally drive to your hunt and go shoot right then. Now, some guys want to shoot factory ammo, and don't get me wrong, there's some ammo companies that make very
I'm
good
just gonna say
ammo.
Ruger 1022, Granite Falls, 48 degrees, 72 yards, and all that matters is that I'm faster and more accurate than one Jordan Creek.
Not going to happen. Technology doesn't exist.
I'm excited to come out for that, by the way. I'm gonna bring a lot of 22 boys.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right.
So you can do that, and so the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is they don't understand that even a precision gun. Brian Litz is much more eloquent than me because obviously he was basically a rocket scientist. But in his books he talks about like dispersion and all sorts of stuff. The most accurate gun in the world will shoot terrible with different ammo, right? So if this say it's a 300 PRC, if you shoot 190s and 212s and 225s, those are all Hornady rounds, by the way. That's the reason I'm bringing those up. I was just looking at that, and one of those rounds is going to shoot better than the other one, right? And so you come in and hey, I want a custom gun, or I don't want to pay money for a custom gun. I want to meet you like halfway. I want a nice like off the rack carbon fiber barrel rifle. No problem. I'll get you whatever you want. And I do that all the time because people see the sticker price and they go, oh shit. And I go, I'll sell you any gun you want. I don't give a shit. And I can literally order you anything. So like, I want a Christensen Arms, or I want one of those new carbon fiber Savage. All right, you got it. So you get it, and they go, okay, what's the next step? I want to do it myself. No problem. Go, how much money do you have to spend on ammo? And I would say go at a minimum buy 3 different bullet weights of ammunition. And if that doesn't work out, go buy different manufacturers of ammunition. Your gun is going to like something much better than something else. Case in point, I had built a gun for the SWAT team. It shot like shit. Absolute shit with their duty ammo. So they had 155 grain ammo. It shot excellent in the rest of the guns. And when I say shit, I'm talking like 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, terrible.
Yeah.
So he ran it through. He got it like 8 different kinds of ammunition, and it went, I think the biggest group was
167.
like, I don't remember what shot the best, but he told me his group sizes. He went from 3.5 inches to 0.17 inch groups just in ammo. Okay. Consistently, right? So this will shoot a 3.5 inch group. This will shoot. He did nothing to the gun.
Yeah,
0.17 inches, and so you get these. That's how much of a difference that.
Now they're pissed at the other 4 guns.
Oh yeah, right.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, because it comes down to harmonics. That's probably a super high harmonic gun, and the harmonics change with different bullet weights and different speeds and so there's a lot that goes into it. So if you have a gun that shoots like shit, try different weight bullets. You know?
that is one of the limitations of the 7 PRC is that it's pretty new and it's difficult to find different ammo. So I was in Coastal Farm and Ranch today.
Yeah.
And I went looking through their shelves and I found it was a different manufacturer of ammo, but it was still a Hornady 175 grain ELDX.
Right.
Like, fuck. It's all, and I think,
We just need to change the harmonics. Just put the tip of the barrel in a fire.
or I should just wrap it with some, put some hose clamps on it.
Gunsmithing tip over here.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that right quick, brother.
Yep.
Yeah. So loading custom will help, but at the same time, like you talking about those 175s, I built. I'm a 28 nozzler guy, so it's just a bigger 7 mag, right? I took it out. We were in Eastern Washington at my buddy's place. I don't even remember what we were hunting for. Nothing. Slow day, right? I'm the king of killing rocks. It's like one of my most favorite things to do. It's like, I bet you I kill that white rock over there, you know? And so we got set up and it was like 1,750 yards, 1,740 yards or something. Yeah. Crossed to a couple different canyons. We had fingers. We had crazy wind. So I got it dialed in. I figured the wind out. And then I had 4 different guys. And we all laid down on the gun. And this was factory. This was Nosler 175s. The Akibon long range, and laid down, and I'm talking like 1,700 change at a hand size group, every single one of them.
Holy fuck!
Yeah, and that was with factory ammo. So
all right, well maybe I'll just sell my Bergara and go talk to Kris.
You know, it'll change from person to person, but you know, it's their factory ammo can be very, very good as well. You know, so I'm not trashing on factory ammo. I mean,
and I think for most people, that's just where you're even for me, like the fancy Hornady, like match grade factory ammo feels like a stretch.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's my high end.
Yeah.
The custom made everything is not for me and probably not for most people. So really what I'm looking for is like, I want to be able to hit a elk's lungs at 1,000 yards with factory ammo.
Yeah, yeah. And it's totally capable.
Yes.
Depending on what your firearm is and what I mean, like I said, you just got to dial in that package, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you start with your cartridge and then you start working through all the ammo.
Yep.
I cheat all the time. There's like a bot website thing. It's called Ammo Seek, and all this.
Use it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'll just put in like 7 PRC and I'll see who makes what. And, you know, of course I pick the cheapest one because I'm cheap, you know, and sometimes I'll have to order a bunch of ammo. So like being a firearms manufacturer, ammo is probably the tightest thing as far as margins go. There is like no money in ammunition.
Really?
I mean, like
It's just competitive.
it's single digits. So you make like 8% on a box of, you know, on a $50 box or something like that. You know, it's like it's not even worth it to buy it and put it in the shop.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
So I don't really carry a lot of ammo because, like I said, there's even less money in it than building rifles. You know.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for a fact that if you go through a bunch of different ammunition, you will find one that shoots well in your gun.
Okay.
Or better than the
I will
rest.
get on Ammo Seek and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Plug for Ammo Seek. I don't even.
Yeah.
Next sponsor.
Next sponsor.
Yeah.
After Norms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we take a quick break? And then, so we've talked about Cantrell Outdoors, and then I'd like to get into bear hunting
Yes.
and bear country outdoors.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all really excited for.
Yeah.
Well-
Absolutely.
All right, pee break. We're coming back.
Jordan.
All right, we're back. So let's get into bear country outdoors because, like I mentioned earlier, Nathan and I watched your documentary last night, and it got both of us, I think, pretty excited for. Is it August the bear season opens? Right, they did away with spring bear season. Fuck those guys.
For now.
Yeah. But I was telling him about that spot that Mike took us to above Lake Rossiger. You could see like the little tunnel holes through the blackberries and whatnot. And it's like, you just knew you were into them. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting, even though we got skunked that night. And it was just a fun evening in general. But so, like I said, watching that, it's called A Bear Hunter's Life on YouTube. It got both of us really excited to go bear hunting this summer.
Yeah.
Oh, you look like you're about to say something. Sorry.
No.
He's got a dip in.
I'm a happy boy. I watched the YouTube documentary as well, and I really enjoyed it. I like your crew. Nice. You have a good connect. Everyone seems to vibe very well together, And something, I didn't grow up as a hunter. I started hunting, I think, when I was 30 or 31, and I'm 42 now. And so I still feel very green in the sport. And every year I still find things that I enjoy about it that I didn't have the year before. And I find it's a very rewarding process, not only for myself, but with group and people and sharing memories. And I really enjoyed your documentary. But how did you grow up hunting? Is this something you did and was instilled in you, or you sought this out throughout life?
So I have two business partners with Bear Country, Doug Joyce and James Forsland, and they like grew up in the woods, you know, like with a pocket knife and a BB gun. And I had mentioned before that like I grew up on the job site. My dad worked. I got 3 sisters. My mom didn't work, and I was I'm literally like age 5. I started working, and my dad's a workaholic, and he unfortunately instilled that in me. And so when I wasn't working for my dad, he'd farm me out to his buddies, and I'd be, you know, mixing concrete and hauling bricks and just doing stuff like that. So I didn't shoot. I shot my very first deer in October of 2000. And so I was 20, was I 21 yet? Almost 21. And I had just got out of a body cast. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I had
on his way home from the hospital.
yeah. So I had an accident where I had crushed my spine.
Oh man.
And actually my left wrist too. So that's why it's always 315 or 945 or 915 or 345 on my wrist, right?
Okay.
So it's all bolts, right? So I was all casted up here, and then I was like in a big body cast for 3 months, and I unfortunately, obviously, I couldn't take care of myself, so I was in a wheelchair for a while. So I'm back at my parents' house. So I finally get out of my parents' house and go back. I was paying rent at my house in Everett with my buddies, right? So I finally go back to that house, and the neighbor's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go deer hunting. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like, you know, I would love to." I didn't have summers when I was a kid. Like I was on the job site, and which was great, by the way. I'm very thankful for it now. So if it sounds like I'm whining, I'm not. Like, it was good. Yeah. It was really good. And I go to this camp. I'm in my Walmart camo, right? Super jazzed. Like I show up in camo. It's dark. And the guy's like, "Oh, who's this? I can't see you," you know? Like, and I'm like, "Oh,
classic."
yeah. The old guy's razzing me, and I'm like, and I'm dumb. So I'm like, "No, I'm right here. My name's Kris," you know? And they're just like, "Oh,
look, 300 pounds, guys."
yeah." I'm like, so I think back now, like, I'm so embarrassed. It's so stupid. But I met this group of guys, and they take me out, and I remember one of the main guys, Travis Nicholson is his name, and he had like a puka shell necklace on, and he had like a white dude, but he had a fro, right?
Yeah.
And it was bleach blonde, like he just got back from Hawaii. And I'm like, this guy's not a hunter, because you have something in your mind, right? Dude, he was the killingest son of a bitch I ever met in my entire life.
With his puka shells?
Dude, he's still a good buddy to this day.
Hanging out at Hot Topic.
You know, he was killing deer when he was like 5 years old with his teeth and a stick and a rock, you know? And so I go out and I shoot my first deer, and I can still remember it. I mean, like, I can remember the exact moment, and it was like everything about it. Like, and a great group of guys. Again, like, it's the people who you surround yourself
100%.
with, and they're showing me how to, like, oh, this is how you gut it, and like I have no idea what I'm doing. I got like a shitty old pocket knife. And it was an incredible experience, and one of the big things for me is I mounted that deer. They gave me a ton of shit. So Travis's dad like razzed me to the point of like it wasn't fun anymore. Like, you know, why would you shoot? And that's just Papa Joe. That's who he is, right? Yeah. But I mounted this thing. It was a 2x3, 3-point minimum, Eastern Washington. And that deer followed me around from like rental house to rental house. I'd hang it up above my bed. Probably why I never had any girlfriends.
Oh my God, it's looking at me.
Right?
It's not a true 3-point. I'm not sleeping.
I'm out of here.
I thought it was the coolest thing. I didn't care, right? You know?
Penny's on.
Right? Yeah, it was not. That's not the way to do it, boys. But it will strike. It'll strike the match, man, and it lit a fire. And so literally starting from then, you guys haven't been over yet, but I have like a legit natural history museum in my basement. You saw the stuff in the gun shop.
I saw the gun shop.
That's just spillover. That's
fuck. All right. If that's the teaser, let's go.
That's literally
let's go.
that's just a tip, girlfriend.
yeah. Motherfucker's got a hippo couch. You think that's what he's starting with?
Yeah, it's just really there's so much to it, and I feel like now that I'm an aged man, right? I see guys, especially like in the real estate industry, which is probably the most telling of this hunting thing, right? I see guys who work their whole life, become incredibly successful. You can make a lot of money in real estate, right? And guys that just have tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, ridiculously successful. And they've conquered this business world. And then they start hunting. And you're like, God, that's weird, right? Because you don't grow up a hunter. But the thing is, it's so hard and so rewarding. And it's very primal, right? It's in all of our DNA.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what even if you're a vegan, you're fighting it, bro. You're not a vegan, you know?
You're suppressing something.
Yeah, you're suppressing it, right? We're all our ancestors.
It's manifesting as gay, but you're suppressing it, sure.
We're all hunters. We're all hunter-gatherers. You can fight as much as you want, but you can lie to yourself. So it's you see these guys go out there, and it's like, if you fail, I don't know if you guys played team sports and individual sports, but I played, so like when I went to college, I played football and track, right? So I got to see the side of like when the team won in football, it was because of the team, but usually it's a couple guys, right? But in track, if I lost or I won, it's because of me, because I threw farther than the other guy, right?
Yeah.
And it can be like that in hunting to some, regard, but it's really you versus whatever you're hunting, and it's win or lose because of you. And it's really hard, right? I mean, unless you're going to pay to play. Like, if you just go...
stomping around over there in the Winthrop area, hoping to run into something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly hard, number one, physically and mentally. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly rewarding, right? Mm-hmm. To win, to harvest something. You get so much from it, like mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually and all this stuff. And then you get all this meat that you get to eat, which is awesome, right? Yeah. And in the more things you killed, the more you realize, like, oh, I can make this into so much more stuff.
Yes, and you're sitting at a table with three guys who like to cook. Oh, so it's, to us, that I think that's part of the draw for all of us, is not just like, yes, the being out in the woods is amazing, the time with friends and family is amazing, the stock, all of it is amazing, but we also like the preparation and the eating.
Yeah. And I like to eat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell, but I like to eat a lot. So it's like, it's not just, it used to be just steaks. I used to be like, oh, you just got to cut it into steaks. And I was like, I'm not eating this shit, right?
Yeah. And
then like you go, okay, I'm going to grind it up, and then you just make tacos, right? Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I'll eat tacos all day.
Tacos.
But you can go so many different ways. So my business partner with Bear Country, James, the skinny one, which is hilarious, he's the foodie. And we have these amazing dinners. Like, he'll bring his family over, and we'll fire up the Green Mountain Grill, and I'll be smoking stuff, and we'll do like I did a half of a rack of or a whole rack was like a half a bear. Like, I cut a bear down the spinal cord, so the back strap was on there.
Yeah.
And so we smoked all that, and then I had like an elk tenderloin, and then we did I think we had a deer back strap too. We did, but all sorts of different ways. We sous vide some stuff, and we smoked some stuff, and we make all this food and all these, like, he made this, like, I have a bunch of blueberry bushes, blueberry compote on this, and it was like, I mean, it was like choice, like really, really good. Yeah. So it's fun, but at the same time, I could just eat tacos too, or meatballs or meatloaf, or
all of it.
Yeah.
Yes. All of it.
It's I'm a man of options, Like I like doing things with options, and hunting has a lot of options. And when you get that meat, you can do whatever you want with it. You can make it into anything you want. You know, you could like put the whole thing on the smoker, or you can,
Yeah.
You are a man of options, but it does seem like you have settled hard on bear.
I was just going to, so that was my question that I was waiting to bring up is, like you've talked about elk and deer and like obviously
Hippo.
going on hippo and yeah. Why did you guys settle on bear hunting for your company?
So James started the company originally, right? So him and Doug and a guy named Brett Benton. And James is the bear killing son of a bitch I've ever met in my life.
Okay.
And to put that like into the scope of bear hunting, we just went to the Western Hunt Expo in Utah. And there's a gal named Jana Waller. She has a TV show called Skullbound. She's the most bear-killing woman I've ever met in my life. She's an amazing person, big TV personality host, sweetest lady. And so I'm sitting at a table. We're doing a podcast at the Western Hunt Expo, and it's Jana and James. I'm stuck in the middle, and she's like, "Oh, I've killed this many bears," and James is like, "Oh, I've killed more bears than Jana," and then you got me, because I never targeted bears. Bears were always just like, "Oh, I'm out deer hunting. There's a bear."
Yeah,
going,
That's kind of how I grew up doing it.
And I love deer hunting, and I love elk hunting, but when you hunt bears, especially black bears in Washington State, for me, I love predator hunting. It turns something on inside of you it's not deer and elk hunting. It's completely different. Mm-hmm. And when you hunt a predator like a black bear specifically, not brown bear, because the meat is so good. And I used to not think that.
Yeah, that was a weird one for me when I first realized that people hunted bears not just for pelts and management, but for meat. I was like, "What the fuck? You guys eat black bears?" And they're like, "Yes, good." Oh, okay. And
so maybe if you go like I've hunted Southeast Alaska quite a bit, and maybe you shoot a bear that all it eats is fish, because they do soak in that whatever they're eating, right?
Okay.
So when you open up a bear, it'll smell fishy, right? That's not a real appetizing, like
these ones here eat blackberries also.
And they eat berries.
Yeah.
Nothing but berries. This state is loaded with berries.
Yeah.
You go up on the PCT and it's people hiking, and the whole hillside is blue with blueberries, and then there's bears. And you're like, I bet you those bears probably taste pretty good, because all they eat are these sweet, sugary berries.
Like blueberries.
Yeah. And literally, you can, if you shoot a bear that's been living in a blueberry field, and when you disarticulate this animal and you peel its hide off, and on the back, like if they have a big layer of fat on the back, if you get them, especially later in the year, and it'll have a purple tint to it.
No shit.
Yeah. Because it like its body absorbs.
It's a fucking it's a giant walking blueberry.
And
Violet.
The meat is so good.
Really? All right.
Super, super good.
Now I'm more excited for bear season.
And it's just like, number one, predators are exciting to hunt.
Yes.
Number two, when you can eat a predator, like I've shot lots of different predators, right? Wolves and coyotes and like some of that stuff, like you're not supposed to eat because of parasites, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a risk taker, but I'm not that tough, right?
Yeah.
So when you shoot a bear, a bear can have trick, but like you cook it, it's fine. 165 degrees or whatever, you're fine, right? And they have the most incredible option on the back, right? On the back of these bears, some bears will have like 3 or 4 inch layers of fat. And so
render that down.
So that's the thing. Like James is like, "Hey, dude, you can render this down, and you can make like." That's all James cooks with. He doesn't have cooking spray. He doesn't have oil in his house and everything.
No butter.
He has just bear fat. And so he gave me some, because I'm shooting skinny bears with no fat, right? And he shoots these big fat bears, and it's super good. It's very healthy for you.
Yeah.
And you can make it
made from blueberries.
Yeah. He made like boot oil. Like finish, like boot grease, which works incredible, by the way. Chapstick.
Has he ever read War on the Run? Does he know that in sub-zero temperatures, the early American Rangers used to rub their bodies with bear grease to keep themselves warm?
You're kidding me.
No, not at all.
God damn, you have to text me that.
Yep.
Is it on Audible? Yeah, you know. Look at me. I'm a scratch and sniff guy, boys,
Hey, brother, right here.
Audible was made for men like us.
Yeah.
Does the book have pictures?
Well, I think I've only been bear hunting twice in my life, but it was a thrill because the first time was with
We were on bikes.
we were on mountain bikes and we rode way in. And Mike and Jordan both brought bow and arrows, and I brought a lever action 30-30, thinking like I'll just back them up in case they make something angry. Then I can put it down. But we were in thick brush, and our sight lines were maybe 50 yards at the best. And it's like, black bears aren't grizzly bears. They're a little more docile, and they're more afraid of you than you are of them. But at the same time, it's a fucking bear, and we are in some close confines. And if one of these two dipshits puts an arrow through its back quarters or something, it's going to be angry.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting hunt. And the thing is, like, it's not like a deer or an elk. When you shoot a bear, even an early season bear, they don't bleed. They don't bleed.
Huh.
So there's a reason behind this, right? So number one, they have a giant, huge, thick coat, right?
Okay.
Deer and elk have these short, hollow hairs.
Yeah.
Bears have these big, long hairs, right? So they can soak up the blood. But even more past that is the fat layer that they have. So if you put an arrow through it or you put a bullet through it, it literally,
Sucks it up.
Yeah, you know. So I don't know how many bears I've shot, but I can tell you, like, I've lost a few. I've tracked bears. Like, you think you put a good shot on them, you go, and there's one drop of blood, and then you're just going and going and going and going, and you're like, I don't even know there's nothing to follow. There's nothing to follow because they do not bleed. It's not, and I swear, the vast majority of guys get disappointed and quit way too soon because most likely that bear is dead, but they're super hard to track. And there's a reason I shoot
Big ass cartridge,
the biggest freaking cartridge I can, and I shoot violent bullets.
Okay.
Violent bullets.
Yeah. On the what were you shooting on that documentary? It was some big double barrel break. It looked like an Africa gun.
Oh, the elephant gun.
Yeah. It was literally so I bought factory ammo for that from Hornady, and there's a DGX Dangerous Game Expandable, and it has an elephant on the box.
Did you say 500 grains?
500
Is that what
grains, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Compare that to like a 300 Win Mag at 195 grains, so it's more than double that. Or
and it's once I learned how to shoot the gun, like the very first time I ever shot that was on that film, and you could see me like look like a friggin' idiot. And I'm just like, keep it in, dude. This is good.
Yeah.
We got so much shit from that, by the way. It's like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I'm like, so once you learn how to shoot a gun that has that much recoil, it's one of my favorite guns.
Really?
It is one of my favorite guns.
What is it?
A 470 Nitro Express. And it's a big, huge, it's not super fast, right? But it's a lot. It's, I don't know how many, 7,500 foot-pounds of energy or something it has.
You got to be getting close to like a 50 cal.
Yeah, 500.
Like,
so 470 is going to be 0.03 short of 0.5,
right?
And then 500 grains. Like I'm wondering
That's
what the
huge.
actual Modus, what the grains are. Do you know what the grains are on a 50 caliber BMG?
I think the ball rounds are they 610?
I don't know. I have no idea.
610, 650, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like shooting the Modus just off your shoulder instead of off the top of your truck.
It's so much fun. It's like, again, once you like, I mean, like,
You know how to lean into it.
and it shoots like a shotgun. It's really fast. You know, I'm shooting with a red dot, and you just,
You say that, but look at your size compared to me, dude. I'll be over on the
reason it hurts so badly to shoot my 308 with no muzzle brake is that my collarbone is on the surface. Like my fucking buttstock is braced against my naked collarbone. There's no meat over the top of that thing.
Dude, beer and donuts will fix it.
God damn, that's a huge round.
It's super fun, but I will tell you, like, James, my business partner, who's killed 20-something bears. I mean, is in like specifically targeting bears.
Yeah.
Incredible bear hunter. I converted him. He's a 308 guy. He's not a very big guy either. Like, I mean, he's pretty built, but he's maybe 185 pounds, maybe, you know, but he's pretty jacked.
What are you saying?
Like, but he's like, I don't know I don't want to say how tall he is. He's nowhere near 6 feet tall. Like I don't know how tall James is, 5'9", maybe.
So you're saying 6'1", 175 is what everybody should be going for?
It was, you probably fit the BMI chart better than I do. But you probably, a lot better. And I converted him to a 300 Ultra Mag.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
And I remember he's like, I don't know, man. And he's a classic guy, right? He's the cowboy. He's got like a 50-year-old cowboy hat he wears all the time and old shitty boots. And he's a tough guy. He used to ride bulls, All
right.
And so we're up on a hunt. We're in the middle of East Jesus. It's hot as shit. It's steep as hell. And he gets up there and a bear's running away. And he shoots this bear. Doesn't make a great shot, which is hunting, right? You never make a perfect shot.
Yeah.
And I loaded him up some 210 grain burgers, the VLDs, and it stands for very low drag. It should stand for like violent, right? So the reason I like these bullets is the same reason that John Nosler invented the bullets he did, because it like they separate, right? But the difference is Berger has figured out a way to make these literally just explode. Like it goes in 2 to 3 inches and turns into a grenade.
Oh.
So,
okay.
So if you're shooting that gun, let's say it has 4,400 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, right? So by the time it gets to the animal, let's say it has 4,000 foot-pounds. So if you get 2 tons of energy in this 210 grain bullet, it's going to go in 2 to 3 inches, and it's literally going to release every ounce of energy.
Shit.
I'm not a pass-through guy. I don't believe in pass-throughs. It's wasted energy, right? I want all the energy to go
inside
in and stay and just blow up and eviscerate everything, like liquefy. I want a blender to go in there.
Yeah.
And it goes in, and he hit this bear far back, and the amount of energy that it had sent a shockwave and just literally exploded the lungs from the guns. And then the bear went like 40 yards and fell down dead. And so we go up, and you've got this thing, and you can see how far back the shot is, and it didn't even get in to the lungs, but the amount of energy that it released,
the cavitation,
yeah, and so all that energy,
no,
and that's it. So I'm a firm believer in that. Obviously, in that type of situation, we're not shooting like elephants or super heavy bone, thick skin animals. But man, those Berger 210s out of a 300 Ultra Mag, they are tough to beat. I mean, you're shooting stuff with bombs. I mean, that's what you're doing.
Good to know.
And same with
Berger bullets.
I made a bad shot one time, allegedly, with a 230 grain Berger out of their OTM, their open tip match, and hit a deer horribly. It was, I don't even want to tell the story, but I'll tell you anyways. It was low light. My eyes, this was back when my eyes just started failing, right? And I thought it was low light. I thought it was looking at me, but it was going the other way. And so when I shot, I thought it was a front shoulder. It was a rear quarter, and it literally took it off and removed it from the hip. Gone.
No shit.
Yeah.
Huh.
So a lot of power, and again, like that was probably, and I was pushing those fast. I was pushing those 230s like
interesting
3150, I think.
So I was actually going to ask you a ballistics question, not for big game, but my girlfriend she lives on 5 acres, and we would like to put animals there.
Yeah.
There's coyotes running through, and it's like, okay, that we can deal with those with a 22 if we have to.
Yeah.
What would you say if I want a round that will kill a coyote, but not through and through? I want it to stop inside its body because it is a little bit of a built-up area.
Right.
What would be your recommendation?
I would shoot a fast light bullet,
like a 17 HMR, or is that too fast?
Oh no, not too fast.
Okay.
No, not at all. Like, I mean, depending on the range, like a 17 is a great round. If you wanted, coyotes aren't a very big animal, right? So you got to remember, like, so 17 would probably be fine. If you wanted to shoot them like with an AR, you would have to shoot a lighter, like maybe a tipped bullet or some sort of
like a soft tip that'll just sort of
So like a lot of bullets like the ELDX, right? Like a polymer tipped bullet. So the idea is when that tip gets pushed into that bullet and forces it to expand.
Okay.
Because you want to make sure, like, some bullets will fail to open, and so you'll hear like penciling, right? So it'll literally poke a hole right through it.
Mm-hmm. Green tip.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just like shooting with a ball or a green tip. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure that you have a rapid expansion bullet. Okay. So whether that be some sort of hollow point or a tip bullet that's going to force to open, but you need high speeds too. You don't want anything slow, because the faster it goes, the more it's going to open up and basically explode.
Okay. I thought I was looking for low velocity.
No.
I'm glad I asked, because I thought I was looking for low velocity.
Yeah. So it's the idea is the faster it goes is as soon as it touches something, it's going to open up, right?
Okay.
So you shoot a really, really fast bullet and a light bullet. If it's obviously bullet construction design is important, but if it's made to open up, that's why when you get into certain bullets, you'll realize that once they go below a certain velocity, they won't work.
Their performance just
goes to shit, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you get that penciling, right? So it'll just kind of poke through something because it doesn't have that energy and that to open up and perform how it's supposed to.
Now, say I was shooting a hippo. Do I want that same
with a
type
17 HMR or a 22 long rifle?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But do I want that same type of effect, or when you're trying to penetrate a dense, thick hide or a skin like an animal like that, or do you want something that's actually going to push through more?
So
I mean, I'm sorry, you just got me.
That's a great question. So, you have to change your mindset on an animal like that, because their hide is so thick, their bones are so dense.
Yeah.
So I shot mine with that 470, and I'm not. I had a discussion, not an argument, but I had a discussion with a professional hunter who was very accomplished over there. So I showed up. I get a couple cocktails in me. He lays out all these bullets, which was incredible, by the way, of things that he had pulled out of critters, right? And he shot, he'd shot 100 elephant and 500 buffalo, and it was amazing. So our next movie is about that South Africa trip, so you'll probably see it in there. Yeah. And I hope I didn't offend him, because he's a very smart guy, but he liked the idea of a full pass through, and I'm like, no, you gotta leave all the energy in the animal. And so he was a solids fan, and I'm not a solids fan at all. Unless you're shooting an elephant in the skull, I don't think you should shoot a solid bullet, even in Cape Buffalo or any of that. I think a good, heavy, expandable bullet, because it's opening up and expelling all of that energy, right? So
is he thinking tracking?
No, he had this idea that if it went through, it would like suck the air out of the lungs or something. I don't know. It was
high tech.
Yeah. I mean, again, a very accomplished hunter. I'm not saying anything, but I feel like science is behind me, right? So I have a certain amount of energy. If you're going to shoot something that just blows through every single animal, it's not archery equipment, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, archery equipment has no energy behind it, right? Yeah. I mean, it'd be like the difference of
you're looking for a wound channel with archery, as opposed to a actual explosion happening in the animal. Yeah.
So I shot my hippo that 500 grain. But it was a DGX. It was the expandable ones, because I'm trying to dump all that energy. I know it has enough power to get in there, and it has enough speed. I don't want it to pass through. So I shot my hippo at like 17 yards. I mean, it was pretty close. Like it was. So dryland hippo hunting is the most exciting thing you can do. So this 4,000-pound animal is faster than all of us. By a long shot. Like, they run 27 miles an hour, and they go it's like an electric car. They go from 0 to 27 right now. That's it. Like one step, boom, gone. And so we creep in on these hippos in this thick brush, and I'm like 17 yards from this thing for feels like hours. It's not, it's like minutes, but they get up and they're just massive. Their stomachs almost touch the ground, and if he wanted to run at me, that's it, right? Brain shot's the only thing that's going to stop him, right? So I get on, and I'm waiting multiple times, and finally he turns, and my PH is like, okay, now you can shoot. cameraman's right behind me. This is all on film, by the way. And you shoot this gun, and there's no quick follow up. You have to let it rock. I mean, I don't care how big you are. It's not like.
Are you running a scope on that?
I put a loophole delta point on it, a red dot.
Yeah.
Because
quick.
Yeah.
Super quick, right? Very, very quick target acquisition with that. So I shoot, boom, I get back down on it, and by the time I come back down, I mean it's this fast, and he's gone, like gone. You hear just the everything that's in its path is breaking and getting run down. He ran a tree over. I mean, he ran all the bushes over.
Jeez.
And he went probably 80 yards down the hill and hits this little pond, and you hear it. I mean, it sounds like a bomb going off. And he made it across, like 30 yards across this pond, and then halfway up the other side and died. So from that one shot, it's a 4,000-pound animal, right?
Yeah.
And even though the thing is, people think like, oh, 470, that's a big bullet. For a 4,000-pound animal, that's not a big bullet. There's a lot of blood in 4,000 pounds, right? It takes a lot to kill an animal that big. And I think it's partly the expansion, obviously shot placement on such a big animal, but, low and in the lungs, and that bullet going in and expanding and releasing that 7,000 pounds of energy, I think was how it's done. But that was mine. My dad's is a whole nother story, hours and hours and in the dark, and it was dry land tracking this thing. Long story short, that 300 PRC I had built, I gave to the cameraman who wasn't following us, and there was one spot where this hippo could get back in the river, and it ran, like outflanked us after like 5-6 hours. And my dad had shot it with a 375 H&H like 2 or 3 times, and hours and hours. Shit. Like, dude, they're hard to kill, right?
Yeah.
So it came around. I think my dad was shooting solids too, and it came around, and the guy shoots this hippo in the face with a 300 PRC and dumped it. So, is that an adequate caliber for hippo? No, but I loaded those 220s, those 220 burgers, and they stuck together a little bit better, and they had enough energy. Again, they were probably
noggin.
Yeah, just, I mean, at 20 yards, like that's a lot of power to get
for
done.
someone that has.
First off, did you look at that pH and go?
Yeah. Hey, squirrel in the nut,
But for someone that has, maybe I'd say a little bit of conviction towards bullet or killing an animal with not drastic measures, but something that's going to solidify this death. Something that when I pull this trigger, I know that what I'm putting into it is so devastating, it's going to drop it. I feel over maybe the past 8 years, archery hunting has blown up more than it has in maybe the last 30 years or so.
Because of Cam Haines and Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any, not malintent or bad wishes, but do you feel you're maybe more of an ethical hunter using a rifle more so than archery?
So I'm an archery hunter. I've archery hunted. I've killed stuff with my bow. I've killed stuff with my muzzleloader. I've killed stuff with my rifle. Right. Short of my bare hands and a spear or a pocket knife, if it has a season, I've killed stuff in it. Right. I've killed at least a dozen deer with my bow, probably more. I've killed elk with my bow. I've shot stuff and had it run 20 yards and die, and I've shot stuff and had it run off and never found it. Right, which is the same with everything. I think that it's much easier to get frustrated and make a bad shot with archery equipment than it is with a rifle. Now, I practice a lot more with a rifle than I do with my archery equipment, but back in the day, I used to shoot a ton. Right. I feel like with a well-placed shot, with a bow or a rifle, something will die. The percentage of something dying from a misplaced shot with a rifle versus archery is exponentially different, right?
Yes.
Margin of error is a lot lower.
Yeah. So there's a million things that can go wrong with your archery equipment, and whether you're shooting a fixed blade or expandable, and the range and the grain of arrow you're shooting, and how much energy it has, and maybe you hit that front shoulder blade and the arrow stops, and I mean everybody's gone through it. That the animal has more time to react and it ducks your shot.
Yeah.
And I've archery hunted for a long, long time. I don't anymore because I have a plate in my arm, but it is. I have nothing. I don't think I'm better because I shoot with a rifle, but I know that I can kill a lot more things with my gun than I can with my archery tackle. And again, like physically, I can't pull my bow anymore because I broke my arm wrestling. That's a whole nother story.
Oh, fucking over the top here. Yeah.
Podcast number 2.
I was
Kris's arm wrestling career.
Yeah, I was a 2006 state champion left and right-handed for Washington State.
No way.
Yeah, undefeated. Yeah,
No.
until I broke my arm at practice. Yeah. That's a story for another day. But hang on. Yeah.
What? Another. Yeah. All right. This is a whole other 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, I know. I got a lot of stories. But I can tell you that I did enjoy shooting my bow. I liked the idea of.
Do you turn your hat backwards?
Of
like
course.
when you're getting ready to it's like a switch. Turn it backwards.
It is like a switch.
How many of our listeners will get that reference?
Yeah.
3.
Just Jordan.
Maybe.
Cigars and motor oil?
If you could still shoot a bow, would you? Or do you find yourself so enamored shooting rifles?
I would say that most likely I would probably stick with my rifles just because I really like being successful. And your rate of success. Yeah. Some people hate long range shooting because they're like, oh, it's like cheating and this and that. And I don't think it's cheating, but at the same time, I shoot guns a lot and I'm very efficient at what I do. And I know that if I can see something with my naked eye, I can probably kill it. Right.
Yeah.
I have a couple guns that are just set up and I shoot them a lot and I'm very familiar with how they shoot. And again, I load all my own ammunition and I yank a lot of triggers and I know where that bullet's going to go at different distances, at different elevations and ambient temperatures and where the wind's blowing. And people with a bow can do that too, but people with a bow can do that maybe out to, 50, 60, 70, 80 yards, like sometimes you see guys shooting stuff at 100 yards. Like the thing is the time of flight from an arrow from 0 to 100 yards is probably the same time of flight from my bullet from 0 to 1,000 yards. Yeah. And the animal's not going to duck my bullet at 1,000 yards because it's not even going to hear anything by the time it's dead, right?
What was that?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with it. I've done it a lot. I've lost more animals with archery tackle than I have with my rifle. So maybe I'm a little bit biased,
No, it's fair.
That was a good question, Mike, because I like hanging around you two. You guys definitely seem to like archery more. And yes, you go modern rifle for deer, but it's almost more like that's kind of like our fuck off time. Like we're going to go hang out in September or October over in Eastern Washington. But I've always loved shooting rifles ever since I was a kid, all the way back to my Red Ryder BB gun when I was like 6 or 7 years old, to my first 22, and now getting into long range. And I am fully committed to rifle hunting for all the seasons.
Yeah.
But it is sort of an interesting, just personal, like everybody has their personal preference.
Yeah.
Like some people are diehard bow hunters and other people are really into the rifles. I don't really have a reason why. I just like shooting rifles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, same thing. Like you said, I like trying to pursue an elk with a bow. I mean, mainly because you get the rut and stuff, but
it's timing.
Timing is huge on that. But I mean, there is something knowing it's like I've got my rifle with me when I'm elk hunting, if I see a deer or an elk in another canyon,
if I see an elk, I'm going to shoot it with a 30-06 and run up and stab it with an arrow several times.
Right. But that's exactly it. Whereas it's like deer hunting, it's like, okay, well, this is 500 yards away. Now I can start to plan how this might happen. So, I mean, it does change what you're doing out in the field. Unless you can get very close to things, good luck shooting it with the bow.
Right.
Whereas a rifle, it does allow you the opportunity to expand your hunt, go more places that you couldn't with a bow. So not only is it maybe ethics, but it's also adventure a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I've killed a bunch of stuff with my muzzleloader as well, deer and elk, and it's kind of like that, the same type of thing. Like I do like getting really close, you know.
Yeah.
And that kind of bridges the gap a little bit. I also hunt with lever guns, on the last bear hunt I took a 45-70, you know, so that's not a long range gun, you know, so, and it's, if you're shooting open, I put a red dot on mine, big shocker, right? Loophole Delta point. Yeah. But, you know, it's probably, you know.
I think Vortex makes a nice red dot.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a few in stock.
Call your local red.
Right. So I think that, you know, you can get I could shoot something at 5 yards with my 300 Ultra Mag if I really want to.
Yeah.
Am I going to do that? Probably not, you know. But like I like creeping up on stuff and getting close. And I mean, I can get within, 20, 30 yards of most critters.
Yeah.
It's just a lazy man's way if I want to shoot it at 100 yards or, 150 or, like I said, most of the time I'm in it to fill freezers, you know. If I shoot a big buck or a big bull, great, but I'm not the guy to hold out, you know.
No.
My downstairs is full of little bucks and little bulls.
Meat's meat.
And little bears.
And meat's meat.
Yeah, like
tacos are tacos, chili is chili.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Huh. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that as far as like archery goes, I'm a huge fan of archery.
Mm-hmm.
I just like shooting bows, like that's kind of my jam. But it's more because the state, makes it way easier on the schedule.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, I'd be into it for rifle all day.
Yeah.
But that's the problem.
Well, hang on. Before we end this, let's hammer on the state.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to go.
Fuck these people.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, bear country is, I would say, the face of a lot of anti-hunting commissioners' sentiment in general. So, we partner with Sportsman's Alliance. We had a big fundraiser at Skookum Brewery. It was awesome. We raised a ton of money. Lorna Smith who's on our Fish and Game Commission. She's a huge anti-hunter and spearheaded taking away our spring bear. Mm-hmm. And so we sued her. We won. Bob Ferguson, again, I'm not a huge fan, but he's kind of
fuck that guy.
You know, he's not doing great things for the 2A community. Luckily, he is backpedaling a little bit on the commissioner stuff. So on his way out, Jay Ansley, who's a terrible human being.
Also, fuck that guy.
He had appointed.
In case you guys were wondering where I stand on these issues.
So he made last minute appointments on his way out. And I'm going to talk about one in particular, a gal from Eastern Washington, and she had been attacked by a black bear, and said, "Oh, don't kill this black bear because it was just doing black bear things and being a black bear or whatever." And like, oh, it's totally fine. Not that this black bear just attacked a human. Maybe it goes out and attacks another human. Maybe kills a kid or something. But that'd be fine because it's just doing black bear stuff, right? So these are the type of crazy people that we're dealing with. So long story short, sportsmen band together, like Bear Country Outdoors, Howl, Blood Origins. I mean, we're even getting help from the tribes now. Like, I mean, that's how bad it's getting, right? Good. So we band together. Bob Ferguson rescinds those appointees amazingly. And
or Bob Ferguson or Jay Ansley?
So Bob Ferguson. So Jay's out, and he's like, I think Bob's realizing
that he inherited a shit sandwich.
An absolute shit sandwich. And he's not a great guy at eating shit sandwiches. Yeah. So now he's realizing, so I got to go to the Supreme Court for the last hearing, and that whole thing is such a mess down there. And again, back to me partnering with Sportsman's Alliance, we're just stacking up lawsuits.
Good.
So
Good.
I very poorly just rolled out their life membership program for Washington State. So I'm trying to raise money for Sportsman's Alliance because they hired 2 new attorneys to like sue Washington State. So if anyone's listening, they want to be a life member, go to the Bear Country Outdoors page. We'd love your help.
What's the website?
Sportsman's Alliance. I think it's .com.
Okay.
But they don't have a link on there. This is like a tester for their life membership program. Some people in the organization don't necessarily want it. I'm pushing for it because it's a good way to like raise money really quick.
Yeah.
$1,500 a whack for a life membership. Like you could, if you get 100 of them, that's 150 grand. That's a lot of lawsuits for Washington State.
Yeah.
So hopefully it goes well. I don't know if it will, but I think that we need. The problem is I don't like to sue people.
No.
I don't want to.
But you have to.
But that's where we're at. You go to the meetings and you send in your letters and your emails and you speak on these Zooms and they don't listen. They don't care.
No, they don't. And I've submitted all kinds of comments on all kinds of fucking House bills and whatever. I'm sure as shit they do not read them. The one thing I kind of take solace in is that as we're watching, like at a national and federal level, what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing is it's showing us how inept the government actually is. It's buried in its own fucking weight. And since Washington State is resisting, it's like, you know what? Good. Continue to be inept. All these laws that you want to enforce, I've been driving around with expired tags for 6 years or 5 years or however long it is because the state is so inept at it. Like everybody assumes that they have to follow the laws because the state said so, but the state is actually inept at doing all of the state's functions. So fuck the state's rules. Like, live like a fucking pirate, you guys. Do what the fuck you want and spend money when and where you want because the state of Washington doesn't actually have any, they have very little ability to do. They are so mired in their own red tape and their own bullshit that they can't actually do much. So I just kind of live life as an outlaw and I'm guided by my own morality and I do things that I think are correct and morally right. And I don't really give a fuck what the laws say anymore. I'm fully committed to living life as an outlaw.
Don't buy tags for 2 years and buy a Sportsman's Alliance.
What's a tag?
Your tabs.
What's a tag?
Tabs.
Your tabs.
Oh,
or tags. If we're outlaws, we just go. Every day is hunting season now.
Hey, you know what? If you got 30 acres in Granite Falls, it is. Training Northwest, everybody.
Hey, let's
pump the brakes, boys. They're listening.
Yeah, come on out and stop me.
Yeah.
Willing to fight.
Yeah. These sons of bitches.
No, I think Sportsman's Alliance is definitely they're the only ones pushing back. They stepped up. The problem is as you get deeper into all the nonsense that Bear Country has politically, you realize some organizations aren't allowed to sue, depending on how they're set up, which was news to me, right? Because I was getting mad at these other organizations, like, oh no, we can't.
What nonprofits can't sue,
right?
Yeah.
So they can't get into the political realm, and
Actually, as much as I kid, it is important. Like, if you guys are hunters or outdoor enthusiasts, you got to get off the fucking couch and at the very least, write an email to your representative.
Yeah.
Like that takes 8 minutes, something like that, and let them know what you feel and what's going on. And especially again with the federal and national level, there's a lot of pressure now because even if Washington State resists, the house cleaning that is happening at the national level, federal level, it's going to come here.
Yeah.
You can't, we are witnessing savings in the hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe into the billions of dollars. They can resist, but it's going to come here.
Yeah.
Because the taxpayers want it. So
but it's
make your voices heard, make your desires known, because at some point our elected officials are going to have to start fucking listening, or they're going to have to get out.
It does matter, but like places like did you follow New Jersey in their black bear hunting and stuff? And you know about that kid that got killed at Rutgers University, and that's why they allowed people to start hunting bears again in New Jersey.
It's going to just take a couple deaths.
Dude, there's bears running around in the green belts in Milk Creek.
Oh, they're everywhere. But it's like, Jersey started to get pretty progressive, and
it's when purse dogs start getting snatched off back porches that.
Yeah, well, kids from university. Kid was killed at Rutgers University by a black bear on campus. And then the governor of New Jersey said, let's reverse this, and we're going to open up. I think they completely eliminated bear hunting before that, right? They stopped it completely for black bear.
Issuing tags on campus.
And pretty much now
what
they are.
What GMU did you hunt this in? Rutgers.
yeah, by the quad. But it's interesting to see how, like, these things kind of follow. Like, you see, like, with cougar, you used to be able to hunt with dog, and now you can't hunt with dog. Same thing was true about bear. And these things that are predators, like you said before, it's like, it's fun hunting a predator. You get a rush out of a predator, and it's like, why is that? Because it's a fucking predator. It can kill you. And people tend to forget that. I mean, you get your Coca-Cola commercial during Christmas, and it's a friendly polar bear. And it's like, have you ever met a friendly polar bear? Because I don't think they exist. And there's this anthropomorphizing of, like, these animals that are natural, and they're part of an ecosystem. But because we have a carbon tax in this state, we think we're progressive, and that's going to stop all these nefarious things from happening. This bear won't kill this.
Grizzly bears are our friend.
Yeah.
Let's go hike them outside.
So it is kind of weird seeing how there's been, from a country that was founded off of hunting, there has been a dramatic
fur
pushback.
trapping is how we got to the West Coast.
Yeah, there's been a dramatic pushback to it. And our state, it's weird living here. Like I said, I didn't grow up hunting. I got into it later. And being kind of thrust upon this has been an interesting education in my life of just how things work and how things should work, I think. But they don't work that way. Like, proper game management is not being held to proper standards in Washington State.
No, we're the worst. We have the worst game commission in the nation right now. And case in point, Bear Country was pushing back, and James, my business partner, calls me and goes, "Hey, we got to go to Bozeman." And I go, "I better ask my wife why." And he goes, Randy Newberg called and he wants us to be on his podcast about our Fish and Game Commission.
Nice.
And I go, okay. So we go and we talk with Randy, and he says, like, you guys are such a mess, and we have these statutes, this fishing game, and our fishing game is very well laid out on paper, right?
Yeah.
It says you need a commissioner to represent, like, commercial fishing and recreational fishing and hunting and all these different things, and we don't have any of it. We just have all these anti-hunters because Jay Inslee, again, is a horrible human being and just ruined it, right? And now we're seeing the repercussions of his actions, where we see the Bellevue lady get attacked by a cougar, and the other people are up on their bikes, and all these people are getting attacked by cougars now, and all these people, a lady takes their garbage can out and gets attacked by a black bear in Washington, and there's all these human and animal conflicts now because they took away our tools for hunting.
Management.
Yeah, our management tools, like hunting bears with dogs, hunting cats with dogs is a great tool. Mm-hmm. Like, you may not like it, but I don't like you eating all my vegetables that my animals eat. Vegans, how about that? Like,
don't stay away from the soybeans.
Yeah, the critters are eating that. That's rude.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just a really poor run commission. People are making these decisions based on Facebook polls and opinions and feelings.
Well, they're making decisions based on what they think is going to keep them being paid, and when they're appointed positions,
it's also they're people who grew up in the suburbs who have no understanding of country life or even mountain and woods life,
or they just really hate those people. Really,
well, both.
It
both
feels
are
like
true. Yes.
When it comes down to it, it's
they see you as Elmer Fudd.
So you know what? Yeah. I don't like what they like. Forget them. Yeah. And that's what I feel like a lot of it comes down to is just like a lack of giving a shit about somebody's lifestyle.
But then it's like, okay, so look at California. They took away cougar hunting in California, but what did they do? They pay snipers from the SWAT team or whatever to go kill cats. And it's like, you're not saving any taxpayers' money. You could be creating revenue by selling tags to hunters, right? We have to get food for the weekend. We have to get ammo. All this money that becomes revenue to go in the system, the state is taking it away.
It drives a lot of economy in small towns, like the small mountain towns.
Yeah.
Think like Winthrop during deer season. That's boom time for them.
Yeah.
Wyoming anytime.
Yeah. It's feelings based wildlife management.
Yes.
By people who don't know what they're doing and are just soft in general.
Yep.
So it's disappointing. We are fighting back. We're gaining some ground. Unfortunately, it takes dollars for lawsuits, and we're getting there. But we have a bunch of other fundraisers that we're going to do hopefully this year and next year. We want to support my biggest thing is we support those who support us. Yep. And that's a really big thing moving forward. So, we donate a lot of money personally and as a company to a lot of different organizations. Again, Sportsman's Alliance, Howl, Blood Origins, places like this. I went to the SCI banquet here on Saturday, bought a table, brought 11 people with me. We spent a ton of money. We won 6 guns, which was pretty cool.
Not bad.
But this next weekend, I'm going down to the Wild Sheep Foundation down in Tacoma. So we'll be down there spending a bunch of money donating to these organizations because these conservation organizations are doing the same thing as us, maybe in a different capacity, but I can't be everywhere at once. But, even if it's a couple of my bucks, I'm giving it to these different organizations to help out. Because again, you got to support those who support you.
Well, grassroots always has since the beginning of time the best cause and the purpose. And you're sticking up. It's like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Rob from the rich, give to the poor. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're helping out the common man, just trying to, this is a God-given right in this land, right? Is to hunt it and to bear arms. And you're sticking up for it. I think it's commendable.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing our best.
And I think that's the perfect note to end it on here. We're at the 2-hour mark. Before we go, again, it's Cantrell Outdoors, spelled with a C and 2 L's. Yep. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. .com? .com. BearCountryOutdoors.com?
Yep.
Podcast?
Barely a podcast.
Barely a podcast. And you guys can find the documentary, A Bear Hunter's Life, on YouTube. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please give us a review on iTunes,
a like and a review.
Spotify.
5 stars.
Go ahead and hit that 5th star. You want it because that helps the algorithm get the show in front of more people.
If you don't like it, don't do that.
Fuck off.
Signing off.